Almost all of us will need care at some time in our lives, either for ourselves or for someone that we love. I wonder how you feel about the prospect of needing care. We all want care that supports us to live our lives to the full, delivered in services that have people that want to be working in them, in organisations that are thriving. Turn on the TV and you see that social care is in crisis, that there's not enough money to support everybody that needs it. And while that's almost certainly the case, it is not a lack of money that is stopping us having the care that we all want. What is stopping us is that there is not enough creativity in our approach to social care. When I talk about creativity, I'm talking about the ways of thinking, the approaches that deliver something new, something different, that makes a difference for someone. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to share some examples of the ways that creativity really enables people to have the care that they want. I'm going to look at some of the things that get in the way, and I'm going to show what all of us can do about that. So let me tell you about a nursing home that I visited recently. The manager showed me into the lounge. The TV's on, and no one's watching it. In the corner, there's a carer. She gives me a big smile when I walk in, and then returns to writing notes in her folder. There's a frail man and woman holding hands on the sofa. A number of people are asleep. And the manager notices one with dribble at the side of her mouth. She grabs a tissue and gently wipes it away. "Hello, Beryl. You are having a nap." She gets a thin smile, and Beryl's attention goes to the weave of her grey cardigan. We head on towards the bedrooms. The noise of the call bell going in the background. Beep, 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 until someone goes and pays some attention to the needs of the person there. Upstairs, most of the doors are open, often revealing frail, bird-like people in padded beds. "Hello," calls the manager as we walk past one. Her greetings returns with a dismissive wave. She's not very social, the manager tells me. It was a pretty typical visit. A home staffed by kind people and not much going on. I go back a week later, and there's a police car outside. I go in, the lounge door's closed. There's a racket going on inside. When I knock on the door, a carer opens it, and the room is filled with people. There's music on, there's children running around, there's a makeshift bar up in the corner, and there's Beryl, her grey cardigan discarded, shakily pouring a whiskey behind it. "We're having a lock-in," the carer tells me. "Beryl, can I let him in?" And after I gain admittance, I notice the woman I recognise from upstairs, shakily dancing on a Zimmer frame, supported by a carer. And when the policeman comes in behind me and Beryl spots him, she yells out in delight, "The Rozzers are here." It felt like a completely different place, populated by completely different people. And there hadn't been some sudden injection of cash. The thing that made a difference was someone bringing their creativity and others lending theirs. Jan had started working in the home a couple of months ago, and she'd noticed that the tea round was a pretty dull affair. Same drinks given to the same people at the same time from the same trolley every day. And she thought what she could do about it. And she had a chat with the manager and suggested some different drinks. And the manager said, "Yeah, go for it. Just take the care pans, make sure that no one gets something they shouldn't have." And so she loaded up some whiskies, one or two other drinks, up with those teas and coffees, and she headed out. And most people had their usuals, but she noticed Beryl tried to nick one of those whiskey bottles. And she got curious, and she started to ask some questions, and it soon transpired that Beryl used to run a pub. And she shared that with her colleagues. The idea emerged to turn that lounge into Beryl's pub for the morning. And when the idea of having a lock-in emerged, then it was just a short step to inviting the old Bill along, much to Beryl's delight. For me, this is a story of creativity in action. The Care Quality Commission, the regulator of care homes in England, says that creativity is at the heart of outstanding care. It's one of the key characteristics. And when I talk to a room full of people working in care, they tell me that creativity is thinking outside the box. It's taking a risk. It's art. It's doing something different. And I agree, it is all of those things. And then they tell me that they're not creative, all too often. I disagree. We're all creative. It's part of our inherent humanity. We've evolved because of our continued ability to change. As Eric Kandel, the neuroscientist and Nobel Prize winner, says, the brain is a creativity machine. And this story of Beryl's Lock-in is full of these examples of everyday creativity. When I talk to a room full of care professionals and I say to them, I bet you've been creative 20 times already today. And often they don't think of all the small things they do that made a difference to someone, if only to themselves. The outfit they've worn, their makeup, their food, their route to work. And I could go on. But the clincher is always the number of conversations that they've had that made a difference to someone, if only on the level of human contact with another individual. Unless we're reading from a script, we're all creative every time that we open our mouths. And that story of Beryl's Lock-in, that new idea from Jan, the suggestion of the pub, the new idea of the lock-in, someone making that bar, the invitation to the woman upstairs, to the police officer, every one of them a creative act that made a difference. And there are hundreds of creative acts like that in care every day. Not that you'd know it from reading our newspapers. To make it the rule and not the exception, we need to overcome our fear. Fear is a natural response to new ideas. It's the other half of our evolutionary biology. It keeps us safe both physically and socially. It's enormously helpful in hunter-gatherer tribes. It's not so useful in the modern care home. None of us want to be rejected or made to look stupid or stand out or make a mistake or lose our jobs. But all of us at some point have been made to look stupid for suggesting something different, either by our friends or our teachers or our colleagues. We're all scared of being judged and found wanting. So it's no surprise that we stick to tried and trusted methods. And there's nothing wrong with tried and tested. There's a huge evidence base of things that work, and they should be used. But our current situation, it always limits us. There might be some fantastic practice in the Netherlands or in a care home down the road. But it can take a creative leap to see how it might apply in our circumstance. And if that is not supported by everyone around us, then the fear of change can crush the potential benefit. Layer on top, a media backdrop that's focused on negative stories. Feed in local authorities, relatives who want to keep people safe at almost any cost. Add in a history of compliance, and it adds up to a culture of fear. It's no surprise that instead of enabling people to live their lives to the full, we end up wrapping them up in cotton wool. And one of the reasons is that people say there isn't enough time. And there is never enough time. I understand the pressures, they're complex environments. But ultimately, it's always a question of priority. What is the most important thing? And creativity can provide more time, either through unthought of resources, higher engagement, increased well-being. Creativity delivers unthought of people into your homes. That police officer, for example, or school children or volunteers, all of whom can provide more time and make a difference. The more that the conditions in an organisation support creativity, the more they support us to commit, to connect, to go above and beyond. The latest data from Skills for Care says that there's staff turnover of just over 25% in the sector. But if you look at individual organisations, it ranges from 15% up to 40%. And a huge part of that is the amount that people feel connected, committed to their work. And that translates to less time short-staffed, less time with sickness, more time to make a contribution to people's lives. The more that we can increase people's well-being, the more that they will stop pressing that call bell so frequently. And that in turn frees up more time. And as you see, a virtuous circle continues. But it takes real leadership to make that change. If you look at CQC again, they say that just over 1% of care homes in this country are currently delivering outstanding care. But that number's growing all the time. And if providers want to be part of that growing group, delivering outstanding services to people, then they might be interested to hear what Christine Asprey has to say. Christine leads an organisation called WCS Care, and they have 40% of their services recognised as outstanding by CQC. And what she says is this: creativity is central to delivering our values. And we do this by giving people the freedom and the confidence to try something new that makes a difference, that enables every day to be a day well lived. And one of the ways they do this is they have regular creative idea sessions. They call them how-to meetings. And they look at how to enable the people they're supporting to live well. To give you another example, let me tell you about Bob. Bob wakes up every morning and he's wheeled from his bedroom to the breakfast room, where he slowly eats his meal and then falls asleep until lunchtime. His carer got curious about how something could be different for Bob and talked to colleagues, and they came up with different ideas. A newspaper, sitting with him, showing some pictures of Cornwall where he grew up. They even tried knitting. None of these things connected. Bob kept falling asleep. Same experience. But they weren't put off. They kept trying, they kept talking about it. And they tried some different things. They brought different food, they put on different music. And then, on a whim, someone brought in a bowler hat. And Bob's eyes lit up, and he snatched that hat out of the air, put it on his head, started waving it to people. And it caused a connection. It provided a conduit for him to start to communicate with the people around him. And he started to laugh, to have some conversations. He was alert, he was engaged. His quality of life had changed dramatically. And that bowler hat is now part of every morning for Bob. And we don't know why he connected with it, and we may never know. And really, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the people around him were willing to keep persevering, to keep trying something different. They took a risk. They weren't scared of failure. And consequently, something has been found that transforms Bob's quality of life. There's a lot to be done if we're to have the conditions where people feel safe to say something different that might make that difference. There's action to be taken in the social care system, in our local authorities, in the boards and management meetings of our care providers. But responsibility doesn't end there. Every one of us can make an enormous difference to the care around us by rejecting fear, by diminishing that voice that says no, and embracing possibility. If we can put that natural negative instinct to one side and instead say, yes, I can see how that might make a difference. I can see how that might help someone to flourish. Then we will start to create change. And every one of us has a part to play in that. If you can be the one who has a new idea and has the courage to say it, then fantastic, do it. If you can be the one that hears that idea and puts that negative instinct to one side and says yes, then you are a hero. The hero of Beryl's Lock-in was not Jan and her new idea. The hero was that manager that heard the idea and said, yes, go for it. It was her colleagues who heard the idea and built on it. One night at the beginning, or a chorus of no's after that initial spark, and Beryl would have spent that morning asleep in front of the television. So my invitation to you is this. Whenever you are working, visiting, or living in care, see the possibility in every situation. It doesn't cost a penny, but it can deliver enormous value for Bob, for Beryl, for all of us. Say yes and create the care that we all want.